Takes it deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
Mike George looking up. See ya! 3,000. History with an exclamation point.
And the New York Giants, given last rites by many in December, are the Super Bowl champs in February.
Welcome to the podcast that's being listened to coast to coast and all over the world. It's Two Dudes, Two Drinks. This is a special episode of Two Dudes, Two Drinks. There won't be an update. There won't be a debate. There won't be a 2-minute drill, but there will be an interview. The interview is with Brendan Donley. He wrote the book called October to Remember in 1968 about that World Series specifically. It was a great interview. Brendan Donley also has become to fame for his Twitter page, Astros Shame Tour 2020 and 2021. He also has come up with these sticky substances MLB Twitter page, and he also has MLB and Base Sports Fight Club. I believe MLB Errors also. He's very busy on Twitter, Brendan. So today's episode focused solely on him. For this episode, we interviewed him and he spoke about his book, which is very interesting, and I recommend you all read it. He also spoke about his Twitter pages, and he talked about the current state of baseball. So we're very excited for this episode, and we hope you take a listen today. And please, like I said, give us a follow on Two Dudes, Two Drinks at Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Download us on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, or Buzzsprout. And we're always showing some of our clips on YouTube. Everyone enjoy the interview, and we hope you find it very interesting and take a look at his book when it's over. Thank you and enjoy. All right, so Two Dudes, Two Drinks season finale, episode 10, and we told you we have an interview with Brendan Donley. Brendan, welcome to the show today.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me.
Of course. So. And we got Steve here, and we got update guy Paul, who's also our producer, editor, and he does about everything for our show.
It was great.
He even drives from Jersey to bring me coffee before the show. Just kidding. So Brendan, start quickly. Tell us a bit about yourself and your baseball life. Like, what got you so into writing and everything about baseball?
So I grew up right near Chicago in Oak Park, Illinois. Went to a lot of Cubs and Sox games. It's kind of just as far to both, but always been a Cubs fan. Just big part of my heart and soul is, I love sports, but like the Cubs were the only team that really feel like a part of my youth, all the nostalgia. So lifelong baseball fan. I mean, I played as a kid a little bit, but not that seriously. And then just a couple of years ago, I started a baseball site called The Big Inning, where I was doing kind of a daily essay column. I don't know what you'd call it, about the best inning in baseball every game of the season or every day of the season. So could be some 10-run inning, could be the last inning of a no-hitter, whatever. And that was in 2016. The 100th post of that, so I started it that spring, and then the 100th post happened to be Game 7 of the World Series. I was at the game with my dad and my sister, and I mean, everybody listening, I'm sure, watched the game. It was, I mean, I can't even go into how special it was, but and so that off season, it got me thinking a lot about the World Series as kind of a not a concept, but just like an event, something in the kind of American history, the culture, the consciousness of kind of the sports culture. And you could say that about the Super Bowl, you could say it about any championship, but to me, something about the World Series, it just felt older. It felt a bit more historic. And I'd been wanting to try to do a book project. So anyway, long story short, I came up with this idea to do an oral history about the baseball players of basically a long time ago. I didn't know like when exactly. I was just thinking, many decades ago. And I wanted it to focus on something in particular, not just old baseball players. So I kind of had this World Series idea and that idea, and I put it together. So I pitched a book idea on the 1968 World Series as an oral history to a couple publishers.
So that's my question for you. So why? So yeah, now you're going to get into it, I guess. But why was that the World Series you picked? So maybe you could. I guess you're going to get into that now. But
yeah, I mean, It was kind of simple. I had that idea, and then I just thought 50 sounded like a good round number, to quote Cool and Luke, and 50 meaning to come out for the 50th anniversary. It came out in 2018. So yeah, I mean that was the idea, and just I wrote letters to these guys, kind of try to find addresses online. One of them got back to me. Went out to Scranton, Pennsylvania, interviewed him. He put me in touch with another guy in Lancaster. I went from there, and I drove around the country for 4 or 5 months. Not every single day, but a lot of days. And
In Lancaster, you said?
starting there. So the first interview was in Scranton, then Lancaster, then I mean all over, like Ohio, Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Michigan. I met Julian Javier, who was a Cardinals second baseman in Plano, Texas.
Yeah, that was the guy who said something to you in Spanish, right? This was expression he used.
Yeah, he said.
Not gonna lie, I didn't read the whole book yet because I just discovered it. But and by the way, the book is in October to Remember, 1968, right, Brendan?
Yeah.
For our listeners out there, check it out. So, what did Javier say to you? It was something interesting I read.
It was like, La bola es redonda y viene en una caja cuadrada, which is like the ball is round, but it comes in a square box or square case. And it's like, baseball is unpredictable. Baseball is weird. It's not a symmetrical game. It's a weird game. So, yeah, I mean, basically the short story of it is just I went all over, talked to all these guys, some of them 78 years old, some of them 86, 87 years old, and some of whom have since passed away, Al Kaline and others.
Yeah, just last year.
Yeah, right? the whole book is an oral history where it's like I did these long interviews in their basements, in their in their living rooms, and then the whole book is their words.
Yeah, like I said, I read some of the book already. Yeah, I could talk to you all day. Like, what was Tim McCarver like? He always seems like a jerk on TV, Tim McCarver.
Well, the first thing he said to me, he was one. I came down to Sarasota, Florida. That's where he lives, and he goes. He answers the door and he goes, I'm not used to giving interviews on losing.
Oh, because they lost that series.
Yeah, because the Tigers won the World Series, and I'm like, he didn't even. It wasn't like, hey, how are you? Come in, and then he said that. That was the first thing he said, and then I was like, okay, well, thanks for taking the interview. I really appreciate it.
Most people hated Tim McCarver when he announced. I thought he was a pretty solid announcer, but a lot of people didn't like him at times. I thought he was good, but he seems like a interesting guy.
Yeah, when people seem to like turn on an announcer, it seems to. It gets a little exaggerated, like Joe Buck. Like I get it, like he's kind of corny, but it does kind of go too far sometimes.
He's a good broadcaster. We love Joe Buck. I think Steve likes him too. Paul, I know, likes him.
I don't mind him.
You don't mind him.
He's kind of a, whatever.
Yeah.
Who was? Wait, who? All right, this is actually doing this to aggravate Steve. Whose grandson was Jason Worth? Steve hates Jason Worth.
Well, the Mets. Yeah, I guess Mets fans have to, right? Because he was Phillies and Nationals, but. So Jason Worth's grandfather is Dick Schofield.
Yeah.
Whose own son, Dick Schofield, I don't think he went by Junior, but same name. They both played. So there's Dick Schofield Sr., Dick Schofield Jr., and I think it's the Junior's daughter's husband or some, I forget the relation, but Jason Worth is the grandson of him. And when I met the guy in Springfield, Illinois, Dick Schofield, he was the sort of utility guy on the 68 Cardinals.
He's not a Hall of Famer. I don't know his name too.
No, but I think he has the record for playing with the most Hall of Famers ever.
Oh, wow.
He came up as like a 19-year-old kid in 1953 with the Cardinals. So he played with Musial. He played with that generation.
Oh, wow.
And, when the furthest team west was the Cardinals and the St. Louis Browns, like there was no California team or anything, Kansas City. So he played with those guys. Then he went to the Pirates. He played with like Clemente and the kind of that group. And then he came back to the Cardinals and he played with Brock, Gibson, those players. And I think he was on the Yankees for a bit, maybe with Mantle. And
wow,
it was like all the great 60s players. It was like 18 Hall of Famers. So anyway, he in his living room, he's got this baseball memorabilia, room, and he's got these little bobblehead gnomes. And it's like I didn't really know what it was at first, and then I look at it, and he shows me it's a bobblehead of Jason Worth with like beer goggles on, and he's got a gnome cap, like a triangular little gnome cap. And I guess it was something they gave out at a Nats game like a couple years ago. And he goes, that's my grandson. And I thought is he like an old man, losing it a little bit? And then No, sure enough, Jason Worth. Yeah, that's his guy.
Pedigree's there.
Should have named.
Steve, yeah, Steve, what do you?
You should have named Jason Worth Dick too. Would have fit his personality.
So here's my question about your book too. One more. Who out of all these, and you interviewed Jose Feliciano, the national anthem singer from that World Series, and some people know him for Feliz Navidad. What you interviewed a lot of people. I think you interviewed a girl too, right? That threw out the first pitch or something.
Yeah, that was a funny one. I'll just quickly tell that. So I thought I'd try to find a couple of supplementary people that weren't players, just 3 or 4 to help tell the story. So like in one of the games, I guess it was game 1. Yeah, game 1.
Yeah, it was game 1.
Little girl with like cerebral palsy who I mean, she didn't really like throw it. They kind of like they had like her parents and I think the owner of the Cardinals, and they all kind of held her up in this really cute way, and she threw out the first pitch. Which back then they didn't throw the first pitch from the mound, not just in her case. Like they kind of throw it from the stands. If you ever look at old footage of, I don't know when that changed,
like
but
Miss Babe Ruth used to do it all the time.
Yeah, and one of the other games in that World Series, like I think Goose Goslin, who was an old Tigers player, he threw a pitch, but he just throws this little 10-foot like toss from the first baseline. And so anyway,
side story.
Well, she her name is I think Marianne Peacock, and so they show the name on the screen, and she's like a 4-year-old girl, and I thought, I mean, I wonder what where she is now. Maybe she has the same name. I don't know. So I looked her up on Facebook, and either she never married or she just kept her name. I found her, sent her a message and like verified that it was her, and I got in touch with her. So yeah, the first chapter of the book is game 1 of the '68 series, and I started it off with her memories of like throwing out the first pitch at the game. So I didn't expect to find her, but when I did, I'm just like, okay, she's going in.
So out of all these people, who was the most interesting to interview? If there was one.
I don't know if interesting, but just Al Kaline to me was I felt the most privileged to talk with him. I met him at the time he was still working for the Tigers in some capacity. He was like, I don't know if the Yankees or Mets have this kind of thing, but he was sort of like an ambassador of the team to the fans, and he kind of greets people at the stadium. So anyway, he had an office in the stadium, and I go in there, sat in his office, and chatted with him for maybe an hour, and that just felt special. I mean, he came up at 18. He skipped the minor leagues completely. He's 3,000 hits, Hall of Famer. Played for the Tigers his whole career, and yeah, it's just I don't know if he was the most interesting. He was really great to talk to, but there was just an aura, and that's a kind of a cliche. You think, oh yeah, he's a great player. There's some aura, but I mean, honestly, I just felt very lucky to kind of just even be near him and like have him open up like that.
Were you disappointed not to get Gibson and not Lolich? Was it Lolich you couldn't get? I read.
Yeah, so Lolich. Yeah, I won't tell the whole story, but like there's not a way I could have tried harder to get him. Like he was kind of a key guy in that series and was the one guy that wouldn't do it. The reason was the same exact year he was writing his own book.
And that was true, right? That wasn't a lie. I read that part.
Say that again.
That was true. I read that part. That wasn't like a lie the wife told you. Like it was really true.
Oh no. He I mean, you can look up his book. It's called.
Okay.
I forget what it's called, but he like the exact same year he wrote with Tom Gage is like a Hall of Fame baseball writer from Detroit. He wrote it with him. So yeah, early on I was trying to get through to Lolich. I got through to this guy Tom Gage, the writer, and the guy Tom, he tells me, he's like, kid, I hate to break it to you, but. And he's like, I feel bad. Like, I think your book sounds really great. Like, I want him to talk to you, but he's writing a book with me, and he's just like saying no to absolutely everything. And the quick kind of like end of that story was, I tried him like 4 or 5 different times, and I just tried everything. And the last thing I tried was I bought this record online on like Discogs.com that was this thing called Roly Poly Mickey Lolich. It was like some local Detroit Motown band in the 60s had this like little song for him on a little like EP record. I went and found it. I bought it. It was like pretty expensive too. I drove all the way across the state of Michigan. I'd like found his address from one of the other guys. I went there. His like wife was gardening in the yard. I wore like a suit just to look like as presentable as I could, just give it one last chance. I had this gift, I had a letter, and I talked to her for a couple minutes, and she was really nice, and she said like, that's nice, but she told me like, I don't know for sure, but I really think he's gonna say no. Like it's not about you. It's just he's doing this book. Yeah, I don't know. So at that point, I didn't try it again. I drove home 3 hours, a bit bummed out, but
I think it's writing. I've never written a book with interviewing people, but I guess that's writing.
Did you
Yeah,
say it was like a
I didn't want to.
Was it a contract thing that he couldn't write it or couldn't interview with you, or?
I don't think so, because like the guy Tom Gage was basically on the same contract, and he like wanted him to talk to me. I think it was just I don't know. He just really wanted to kind of do his own thing, and now the only good thing about that was that
Private.
all of the other guys talked about him, and like same with the Gibson thing. Like they collectively told the story of how dominant he was in that series, and in a way, I mean, I really do wish he would have done it, but if he talked to me, he would have only given me like an hour.
Gibson,
And
you're
in a
saying.
way that wouldn't have been enough. So like the legend of Mickey Lolich, it sort of still works in the book, and in that sense, I wasn't too like, upset about it.
Mickey Lillard still alive?
He is, yeah. I mean, I unless in the past 2 months or so something happened. But
I know a lot of Hall of Famers died this past year. So I'm like, I know Gibson passed away, Lou Brock. So
Brock Gibson, Kaline.
you got Lou Brock or no for the interview?
There was kind of another similar Lolich type story with him. It's like I talked to his agents. I drove 5 hours in like the rain down to St. Louis. I sort of said hi to him for a second, and I like had this really nice formal letter and kind of a little gift. And his agent was kind of being weird, and Brock was pretty sick at the time. He was in a wheelchair, and he just didn't look that great. So I think they were just kind of like very delicate with him, and so it was like another 10 hours of driving kind of wasted. But I felt like, in service of the book, I just wanted to give it everything.
Yeah, no,
Put it all out there. If one of the guys or two of the guys say no, like, I mean, at some point you just have to accept that. But
it's almost like a Field of Dreams. It sounds corny. You feel like you're going to find Shoeless Joe or something. Like, this is awesome.
It really was. But I mean, I thought in the beginning, like, I don't know if any of them were going to say yes. I might show up at somebody's door and they're just like, hey kid, like, get out of my face.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for 22 of them to agree to it, I felt like.
Was it Denny McClain that told you I'm 50 times older than you or something like that? What was that? Something like.
I think it was, yeah. Well, a couple of them said something like that, but he was effing and jeffing the whole time. He was like, it was so weird. We played phone tag for a little while. If people don't know, Denny McClain, he's the last guy to win 30 games.
Yeah, 31 games that year, right, or something.
Yeah, and he was the MVP, the Cy Young winner. He opened game 1 against Bob Gibson, who was the NL Cy Young and MVP. Like, imagine that, a World Series where 2 pitchers won the MVP and they're playing together in game 1. And Denny McClain was like not lifelong, but off and on convict, felon,
really?
In and out of jail. Big time character, kind of a just very interesting guy if anybody just Googles his Wikipedia. And so like I got his number, and we were sort of playing phone tag. And then one day he calls me back and he says, okay, can you do tomorrow afternoon? And I hadn't prepared it or anything. I'm not going to say no to that. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I drive over there the next morning, and it's the day he's moved into a new house. And there's all these like contractors and like plumbers and all sorts of like people milling around. And I'm just thinking, like, well, out of all the days, I mean, I don't mind. I just want to talk to him. But out of all the days, like, he seems so distracted. I'm like, you could have picked any other day. And I think he's just, he was he's just a bit of a character. So
interesting. I was like, I couldn't believe you interviewed all these people you texted me about it a bit too. And then I started, looking into the book, and I was like, wow. So awesome. So the book is, I'm getting the title right, October to Remember 1968 by Brendan Donley. So give him a chance. Check that book out. It's on Amazon. I saw at least in one place, Barnes and Nobles maybe.
Yeah. Well, last note on that. If anybody does get it, I would very much appreciate a nice review. Not to fish for reviews, but only because last year about 100 Astros fans who like hate me for the Twitter account I had just went on there, did not buy the book, and gave 1-star reviews. And I don't care. It's not like a vanity thing. I don't really care that much, but I care about the book. I care about the players, like the stories they told. And it was pretty low. I mean, if you think these Astros people have like any legitimate grievance, that should tell it all, that they're going to go out of their way to do that. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah.
Don't worry about fishing reviews. We're up and coming podcast. We fish reviews and likes constantly. So don't worry, Brendan. You're in the right spot for fishing. And look at us. So interesting you said about the Astros. This is how me and Brendan got to know each other. I started to talk to him. I heard about him before pandemic last year when baseball was trying to start. I heard Boomer and Gio, a local radio show, mention the Astros Shame Tour on Twitter. So I started following Astros Shame Tour 2020. After the pandemic, after the season began, I continued. I could see how they continued to post stuff, and then Brendan, I guess, began a Astros Shame Tour 2021, and he thanked me through a direct message, and we started chatting. And that's what led to him. So I got to know Brendan from this Astros Shame Tour. But Steve, you're going to ask him a few questions about this Shame Tour and the Twitter and the Astros right now. So take it away.
Well, first of all, Brendan, I mean, kudos to you for writing a book. Like, that's like so cool to me. I was an English major
too. I was gonna say.
Yeah. One of my dreams is to write a book. You know, not a sports book per se, but like a children's book. But like, you know, just a process of getting a publisher and getting it printed. That to me is just like so cool. So like I'm jealous of you. Like that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. And I'm sure you can do it. I mean, yeah, I just sort of like cold emailed these people and it somehow worked. So yeah,
that's great. It's great. All right. So I'm gonna get right to it really quick. Like, why do you hate your Astros so much? Like, what do the Astros ever do to you? Like, what should be with them? You know, like, why do you hate them for so much?
Well, it's funny you say that. That's like a lot of these Houston people would come at me and say, hey, well, you know, they'd be all defensive and insecure and stuff. And it's like, or they would assume that maybe I was a Yankees fan or Dodgers fan and there was some sort of salty, sore loser thing going on, which, first of all, for any Yankees fans listening or for you guys, like, it's not even a case of being a sore loser. Like, if you're upset that, you know, you got cheated out of something, it's not like you're bummed out that the Astros beat you. You're actually like righteously bothered that something was, you know, unethical. But no, for me, you know, it wasn't I lost the World Series or, you know, my team got hurt. It was just I love baseball more than, you know, almost anything, and it felt so wrong that it happened.
You're personally offended by it. You're personally offended that the Astros, you know, cheated.
Yeah,
it was almost, yeah.
And almost more so the fact that there was no punishment. Like, I kept waiting all winter, you know, 2 winters ago. Like,
y'all were
okay, as bad as it is, all right, they're gonna get punished. Maybe they'll get banned, and that's fine. I mean, people commit crimes in life, and they have a trial, and then maybe there's justice, right? Like, and you move on. But then when it came out that like, oh, actually nothing's gonna happen, I thought like, what? You know, what do I do here? Do I like give up on watching baseball? I can't stomach this. And I thought instead have fun with it, parody the team, you know, assume that there's many other people out there that felt the same way, and just try to, you know, throw your 2 cents in and kind of give those people a voice and all that stuff.
I knew that in my heart that the Astros, whenever it came to it, that they were going to get theirs, you know, like I knew that the COVID, you know, it kind of put it on a back burner, but I knew that they were going to get theirs. That's why it was so nice when they came. I don't want to give the Yankees credit, but it was nice when the Astros came to Yankee Stadium and the Yankees just let them have it like legit. And that was before that the stadium was in full capacity, but it sounded like it was in full capacity. So, you know, fuck the Astros.
Steve was rooting for the Yankees those nights.
Were any of you guys at that game, or you know anybody?
No, I don't.
No.
Actually, I'm a teacher. One of my co-teachers, Kano, Steve. Her son was there, but that's the only person I know of.
Yeah, they were hard to get tickets. You know, hard to get tickets. Yeah,
plus it wasn't even fully open at that point.
It was still early in the season. I wish they came in July or August. That would have been better.
Yeah. My next question. What are your thoughts on Carlos Beltran? It seems that everybody else from that fallout got a second chance. You know, we got Hinch as a Tigers coach. We got Cora hired back by the Red Sox. We got some Astros making some bullshit apologies and getting, you know, saying, okay, it's no problem. But Beltran takes the brunt of it. I know a couple of people they like implicated him as the ringleader of it. I get it, but still, I don't even think he's in baseball anymore. He's like out of baseball, right? Beltran, he's
There's
gone.
no spot right now, no team right now. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, so they like almost blackballed him. So like, why him out of all the other guys?
Yeah, it's sort of a weird one because it is him more than the others, but then again, it's kind of him less than the others because when he's just gone like that, like he's kind of not getting shamed. He's not the focus of anyone's attention because he's just. I mean, I don't even know where he is. He's just like at his house.
Probably a nice size house.
Yeah, or is he from? Where's he from? Puerto Rico? I forget where he's
Puerto
from.
Rican, yeah.
Yeah, so or I don't know if he has a house in Florida. Like I don't know what he's up to. He's golfing. Who knows? So in a way, he kind of gets off scot free. In another sense, as you're saying, I mean,
he wants to be in a league. He wanted to be the Mets manager. You don't go back to baseball being a manager after being a player that made the money he did. That he did. If you don't like it, you know what I mean. He made enough money to retire comfortably. For him to come back into baseball, like that he loved baseball, and it's probably killing him right now that he's unable to be the Mets manager.
Well, that and probably what happened to him is like he was in a weird spot where he had just transitioned into maybe being a manager, whereas like Cora, Hinch, I think it's ridiculous that they're still in the game, but like they had this track record of having been managers. So if a team wants to bring them back, or like the Tigers got Hinch, they sort of already had this they had their playing career and then they had this managerial career and then they were brought back. Like Beltran, I guess, just was a victim of the timing of like he had been a player and then he might have been was he a coach for a little bit and then he was about to become manager.
Yeah, he was coming up the ranks.
Yeah.
They finally got the big, like the big job, and then it came down on him.
So if he had been an actual full-on manager for like 3 or 4 years, maybe after suspension he would have come back. But
yeah, I hear you.
He was an advisor with the Yankees, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was there. He was there, one of their advisors for like a year or two.
Yeah.
Well, he retired in 2018, like 19 or 20, and in the 20 he was supposed to be the Mets manager, and he got fired.
That was the timeline.
So.
So anyway, yeah. So I don't know if you've seen, the Astros had. I don't know if you follow the Astros as like the season goes on, but they had like a legit shot at having a no-hitter a couple of days ago. Until everyone's favorite umpire, Mr. Angel Hernandez, blew the call, and a ball that should have been called a strike. Was called the ball, and next pitch it was a home run. Anyway, my story is with home plate umpires being so shitty, do you support robot umps?
Well, I've thought about there could almost be like a umpire shame tour. Last year was the Astros shame tour. I've thought about like there have been enough high profile incidents and even just missed strike calls like what you're saying this year. I mean, there's enough to just almost have an entire movement of like if you think of what was the first one was the Conforto
hit by pitch.
Bizarre like hit by pitch play and then I think it was the next day or two. There was another really wild like umpire moment another day or two, and then this whole thing with the pitching substances like got kicked off by Joe West. Kind of just going rogue and calling out that guy in the Cardinals.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you next. What do you think about all this? So we're talking a state of baseball now. What do you think about the current state of with the ball, this whole ball thing going on, or the substance removal thing going on?
Well, as of last night, I don't know if you saw this account that I've been retweeting. I started this account that I'm just trying to post every video of these foreign substance checks because. Last night, I went to the Rays game last night. My phone was dead, so I'm just watching the game, enjoying the game. Wander Franco debuted. It was great. I come back, it's like midnight or whatever. And I'm assuming everybody's seen it by now. All the videos like just everywhere of Scherzer and then Sergio Romo just like pulling their pants down, like pitching a fit. And So I see that it's probably the funniest thing I've seen all year in terms of baseball.
I agree with them, by the way. I agree with them.
Yeah.
I'm pissed, if I'm dealing and some guy's like, "Oh, you're cheating," I'll be like, "Fuck you." I mean, come on. Like, look at me. I got nothing on me. I agree with them.
Well, that's
Anyway,
what's so weird about it. Like they're getting checked. It's not like they've done something and there's some penalty. It's like no matter what they do, the umpires are going to go out and like give them a random check. So yeah, it's pretty wild. Like that. This is how the MLB is deciding to do is kind of bizarre to me.
I don't know if you guys heard Mark and Paul. I mean, like I know that Mark and Paul definitely listen to the fan. I'm not sure if you do, Brandon, but they did like a sports minute about how it's got to change because these managers, I want what's his name in particular, Girardi, are using it now as like a head game.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got to stop because it totally makes sense. They can go out there like every other inning and mess with this guy's head, and it's not right. I mean, the Major League has put themselves in a position, as they always do, to look like an asshole because now it's just like a violent storm. And where's it going to stop? Someone's going to get naked on the mound, and it's going to be a big mess.
My issue with the whole thing is Major League Baseball reacted to the home run issue last few seasons by tinkering with the ball again. And so now people complain this year that there were no home runs and there's no hitting. And so their reaction was rather than fix our mistake, they started going after these pitchers and the sticky substances. And so now they've created a bigger problem out of a little problem. And it's just so frustrating because I just feel like Major League Baseball does this all the time. They just
I say make it no holds barred.
I agree with
anything you want. Do anything you want. Use metal bats.
And who said it? Who said it yesterday? Someone came out in the interview and said like, what did he say about? Oh God, now I forgot what I was going to say.
Kershaw?
No, was it Kershaw?
Kershaw had a comment about Girardi where he was like, if you want to challenge him, if you're wrong, you have to get a penalty.
Yeah, Kershaw said that.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. I just think they created a bigger problem for themselves now, and now now what? Now you.
I think it'll blow by, but yeah, it is an issue. So
open up a can of worms.
Yeah,
but it's not going anywhere now. Now it's just like it's on now. Like you said, people are going to take videos of pitchers getting pissed that they're getting checked all the time. It's over now. It's just I don't know what's next. Like what's next for Major League? Like they gotta nip us in the bud somehow. Like what are they gonna do? They gotta come up with a statement because
I think I don't know if you guys agree.
Worse, it's better.
I think it might be good for baseball though. It's hard to say. Maybe not. Maybe it is. But the reason I think it might be is because there's all these news stories, all these videos, everything. People are morning talk shows are talking about it.
That's true.
And it's
what did I say about the Astros? Sorry, Brandon, but Astros scandal. When I say it's good for baseball, it put a lot of eyes on the Astros.
But that was the complaint. That was what one of the players was saying. Like he's like, there are going to be more punishments for this than the Astros got. Like that's what's annoying people. I think.
No. I mean, listen. If you get caught now, you're an idiot. Like because they're obviously checking. So it's just going to affect the pitchers. Like they're either going to just have lower velocity or just like less spin. Like who cares?
Well, Brendan, I understand what you're saying. It's Major League Baseball's in the media now. They're in the news. So
such a spectacle. It's not just like, oh, there's some scandal. It's like the particular, like in other words, if somebody got busted for having a substance, but there's no visual, like if Garrett Cole off the field or some pitcher got like in trouble, yeah, that gets in the media, but it's just a negative story. But I mean the visual of seeing like Ohtani on the mound, like having to take his belt off. It's such a bizarre, like weird image, but that's going to be on SportsCenter. That's going to be everywhere, and people might just tune in to like watch this.
Scherzer going like he's like nuts. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So,
he's a psycho. Scherzer's a psycho anyway.
I didn't know he was like that.
Yeah. He's a psycho, Scherzer.
So, Brendan, one more current baseball question. Give us a World Series prediction.
Okay, let's see. I'll start with National League. Who do we have here? It's early, so I haven't thought about this yet. But
oh wow.
We got Mets, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, kind of the Cubs. Is there another NL East team? I mean, I guess
you said Giants.
yeah, I guess the Braves could figure things out, but I don't know, probably not.
Braves are the best team on paper. I mean, like once they light up, I mean, like I think they may overtake the Mets pretty soon, depending on what happens with the Mets injuries and what happens with the Braves.
Yeah. I would probably honestly, I could see the Mets getting through it just because the pitching in the playoffs, like the Mets are kind of a questionable team, but they keep winning. And like if you just have DeGrom pitching, say the NLDS, if he pitches game 1 and 5 or 1 and 4, I mean, the rest of their pitching is good enough to maybe win one more game and then you're in. So
Yeah,
I would say Mets or Padres, and then AL. I don't know. I guess I'll go with I think I have to go with the White Sox.
Is that your Chicago bias there?
Maybe, but I mean, they got some injuries, but they just look really good. I didn't know the pitching would be that good. So,
I mean, I respect Chicago. I could see the Yankees beating them in an ALCS though, or an ALDS. Paul doesn't agree with me.
Well, and I would say if I had a dark horse, kind of an overused term, but honestly, if the Blue Jays figure out like their bullpen, I think they have maybe the best team in the American League. Like they keep losing close games and they keep blowing games late, but like the past month they've been a very unlucky team. But that lineup is kind of.
You said the Blue Jays, right?
Yeah, like if they've had issues with closing out games, but if they somehow get a couple arms in July, or I don't know if they get like healthy. If they get into play, they might miss the playoffs. But if they get in, I could see them. Taking.
All right, interesting pick. I'm gonna remember that one. All right, interesting picks. I have Yankees Mets World Series. I would thought you might go Chicago. What would they call it? We call it Subway Series here. What would they call it in Chicago?
Probably Red Line Series.
Red Lines. Okay, I didn't know. I don't know my Chicago subways.
The New York trains do like the number system. I mean, there's colors, but you call it, the one train or whatever. Chicago, they go by color. Huh. So both Wrigley's on the north side on the Red Line, and then also the same train just goes straight down to Sox Park.
Mark, remember we were in
I was gonna say
for the World Series.
We didn't see a game, but we were outside Wrigley right before Game 5. It was tense out there, Brendan, because they were down 3-1.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was a cold night. It was a very, very cold night.
Yeah, we were there in the afternoon way before the game started. But did you go to any of the home
games? The bars
7?
were already filling up at like 2 PM.
Yeah.
I remember it was $500 to get a table.
Just to go into the door. Did you go to any games on Wrigley or just the Cleveland game?
Yeah, I went to a couple of them. Yeah, I was at Game 5. It was really, really tense because that game was like I think the Cubs won 3-2.
Yeah, it was close.
And like they didn't have like a hit or really have anything going until like the 5th inning, and then Brian hit a homer off Bauer, and they just held on. Like Chapman came in and pitched like 2 2/3 innings.
Oof, that's why he was running on fumes by game.
Yeah, 7. I mean it was cold. It was really cold. Everybody was on their feet the whole game. Like Game 6 and 7 in Cleveland were warm. It was November.
Remember, yeah.
And it was like a 73-degree evening. It was like it felt like July.
I and I've said this before. Mark knows that World Series was one of the most exciting World Series I've watched, where the Yankees weren't involved or I didn't have a team in. That was an electric World Series.
Yeah. That Game 7 was iconic, like so amazing. And Brendan, I was rooting for the Cubs, but when Davis hit that home run, I kind of smiled because I don't want that series to end. I know you don't want to hear that, Brendan, but
yeah, it was awful. I'll send you guys a picture later when if you remember Dexter Fowler led off the game with a home run, and then David Ross hit one to almost the same spot later, and I held up this sign when Fowler's coming back in the dugout. I'm there on the camera holding up a sign that says. It's going to happen. Huh. And when that Raji Davis home run happened, I'm thinking like, am I the dumbest Cub fan in the world? Did I jinx the whole thing?
Are you the new Bartman?
in the first inning when I'm holding up, okay, leadoff home run, the vibes are good, like no pressure. I hold up the sign, it's going to happen. Did I just like, fuck over the whole thing? And
you've been on highlights for years.
They pulled it off, but I mean, I get pretty nervous. Like, what did I do here?
I hope you weren't one of those people that heckled Bartman over the years, Brendan. You seem like a nice guy.
Well, I mean, there's not really a chance to have heckled him because he went into
hiding, right? Yeah.
I mean, the thing with just briefly on him, like people attack Cub fans sometimes for that. Like,
yeah,
I get it, but also like people have to remember, like I'm not blaming him in any way. I feel a lot of sympathy for him, but if you look back at the footage, he acted in a really weird way that brought that energy on him. I don't mean he deserved it. He didn't deserve it, but after that play happens, everyone else in the area just sort of like is milling around, kind of laughing it off, like not trying to draw attention to themselves. He sat down in the seat with headphones on and like a turtleneck. He didn't talk to anybody. So like, in other words, if he just acted like everybody else, no one would have known that there's some guy that like did this. Everyone standing, he decided to sit and like look sullen and look guilty and look scared. And again, I feel bad for him, but I just don't know why, looking back, that's what he chose. I guess that was just, I don't know. That's just how
it shouldn't have even gotten into that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like they should have been out of it before that even happened.
Well, the thing is, though,
I get mad at him.
But he was the start of it. People talk about the Alex Gonzalez double play, but the reason people look at Bartman is because the Bartman thing happened first. So like the whole inning fell apart.
Yes.
And yeah, there are all these other mistakes, but the reason people got freaked out by the Bartman play was like, until that play happened, everything was fine. Like I wasn't at the game, but my family was. They said everything was great, the vibes were great. The moment that play happened, the air went out of the whole stadium. Everyone knew, like, this is it. This is the moment. We're screwed. The players felt it, and like, again, that's not Bartman's fault, but just the crazy play, like the way that play happened. To this day, I say like that had a real effect. Like there was some weird thing that happened there, and he didn't deserve the hatred, but that moment was not like a bogus, For people to put it on that moment, I think it's legit.
Alex Gonzalez booted his ball at shortstop. Dusty managed horribly in that inning. There was a lot of things going wrong in that.
That's what I mean. Those things happen after, though. That's what I'm saying. Like,
and in the bottom of the seventh, Bernie Mac chanted, God rest his soul, root for the champs. He jinxed it right there. I mean,
true. Good point.
Cubs were dead before he even went into that game.
Yeah, well, and then the next game,
they got shut down. They got shut down.
Well, it was a weird game because they went down early. And then Kerry Wood blasts like a 2 or 3 run homer to.
I think it was a grand slam.
I don't know if it was a grand slam, but it was a big home run. And then they lost the lead again. Then Moises Alou hit a massive home run out of the stadium. So it was this wild game where it seemed like no one thought the Cubs were going to make it. The game started, everyone was just depressed. But then these huge home runs, the place turned into a whole party scene. And then the Marlins they just kind of chipped away, and I don't know, just the whole dream deflated. It was bad.
Yeah. So real quick, Brendan, just tell me real quickly a baseball newsletter, what that's all about.
Yeah. So there's a Twitter account. The Twitter stuff's just sort of extra. But I'm doing this daily baseball newsletter every day. I just thought, especially for busy people, there's no way to catch up on baseball every day. If you go to MLB.com, they've got the main headlines, but they're never going to have anything funny. They're never going to show that Sergio Romo clip or an Astros thing or even not just kind of edgy stuff that makes the league look bad, but just little hidden gems. The website MLB.com doesn't have that. They just have major, Grand Slam, Bryce Harper, or, whatever. And then there's other websites that I guess have some sort of, daily news stories, but I just felt like there's not a good way to see the best of Twitter, the best little highlights, everything. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Started on opening day, and just if people want to check it out, it's on the Twitter. The link is on the Twitter, but it's a numbered list. It's about 15, 16 kind of bullet point numbers with mostly videos. It's not some rambling writing from me that's boring. It's just every highlight you missed. If you were busy last night, you could spend 4 minutes at lunch just scanning and catching up. So yeah.
Cool.
Reminds me of a quick pitch a little bit on MLB Network. I don't know if you said that, but good stuff. All right, Brendan, I have one serious, and so guys, audience viewers, please check out once again Brendan's book, October 1968, A World Series to Remember. Did I get it right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, perfect.
Yeah. And he has the Twitter Astros Shame Tour, and he has baseball newsletter, and you also do MLB Errors and something else.
I started Baseball Fight Club, but changed it to Sports Fight Club. And then, the last thing is literally last night I started the @StickyCheck.
Okay. So we're going to check out all these Twitter sites.
Yeah, it's getting kind of schizophrenic or whatever the word is of multiple personalities in my head of 6 different accounts. But basically, that one is just all the, Scherzer undoing his belt. It's any umpire check that goes on. I'm trying to post it, and yeah.
All right.
So,
Awesome.
sorry, go
Awesome.
ahead.
Brendan, one more serious question. This is very serious. You went to school in New York, you told me. You lived in Chicago. What's better, deep dish or regular New York pizza?
Oh God.
I mean, you know the answer.
Yeah, not deep dish.
I'll say
Deep dish is a casserole, and pizza in New York is pizza.
Yeah, well, the weird thing about the deep dish or like Chicago pizza is growing up. I mean, I didn't grow up in Chicago, but the next town over. I rarely had deep dish growing up. Like, I think that's one misconception. So my answer is deep dish is better if it's good. But honestly, growing up, like, we just have normal pizza. There's only a few good deep dish places in Chicago. There's really only 2 places, Giordano's and Lou Malnati's, that do it well.
Well, Pizzeria Uno is that's the one.
Yeah, they're all right. To me,
That's what I went to when I went to Chicago.
Only Giordano's. Like that's to me, like, you can only go to Giordano's. But it's just funny to me because, like, yeah, I think pizza, like, growing up, like, we just get normal pizza, and it's like a special occasion you might get the casserole, as you put it. But I think people from the East Coast sometimes think, like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but you think, like, oh, in Chicago there's the Chicago style, and that's what people eat. Most of us are just getting
Pizza.
Regular pizza. Okay. All right. You just cleared a myth for us. We thought you only did deep dish.
frankly, like,
deep dish is delicious. I'm not hating on deep dish. I like that every day. Deep dish. I just love pizza. Give me some cheese and bread, some pepperoni.
Yeah, Steve's an eater.
well, I'll return it to you guys. What's the best? Well, I don't know if you guys live in the city, but what's like regarded as the best pizza in either in the city or where you guys live?
There's no
we don't live in the city. Steve's Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one set place that has the best pizza. I mean, like, pizza in general is good in New York, like, minus the chains. Like, I'm not talking about Domino's or Papa John's or any of that crap. You know what I mean?
I think he knows that.
But there's pizza places in the Bronx that I've had slices of that are the best. Like, are amazing. And there's pizza in Queens that I've had that is also amazing.
Well, the thing I love about the New York pizza is, I mean, the pizza is great, but I like that you can just go get a slice. Like, if you're walking around in New York, you're hungry, you just, you're like tired and stuff, you're shopping or whatever. You just go in a place, you get a slice. Like Chicago, there aren't as many pizza places. New York is a pizza place, like, every 2 blocks. So yeah, I'll give you guys credit for that.
Thank you.
Pizza
Brendan.
4 times a week. I'm not gonna lie to you, right?
Yeah, I've seen him get at least twice a week at Joe's in the Bronx. Shout out to
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah,
All right. Anyway, Brendan, we appreciate you coming on today. Folks, please check out everything Brendan mentioned today. We appreciate you being our first guest we've ever had in our first season. You made it on our last episode, too, for
Awesome.
So thanks again, Brendan. We love your passion for baseball, and we appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I would say good luck to your teams, but, that's like a contradictory thing, Mets and Yankees. So, yeah, anyway, thanks so much for having me.
All right.
Later, man.